Zane reveals current protein intake, talks steroids and how bodybuilding changed from 1970s. Zane discussed aesthetics in the sport, diet, and PEDs. Don't over-rely on anything, forget about using massive amounts of steroids and other drugs. Zane led the charge as one of the most balanced bodybuilders of his generation, mastering his mind and body. In a recent YouTube video, Zane discussed open bodybuilding, moving away from aesthetics, his current protein intake, and why competitors shouldn't over-rely on steroids. During his illustrious bodybuilding career, Zane separated himself from his peers thanks to his calculated training, diet, and supplementation. But his legacy was built off more than that, as he utilized any weapon at his disposal to sculpt a one-of-a-kind physique, which saw him practice meditation, sunbathing, and especially, visualization. In his heyday, Zane amassed 3 Mr. Olympia titles, and similar to Leela Broder, defied the odds, having defeated IFBB pros who regularly outweighed him, such as bodybuilding great Arnold Schwarzenegger. Hailed as the godfather of aesthetics, Zane blended symmetry, muscularity, and proportions like no other bodybuilder. At 81 years old, he remains highly respected in the sport and imparts wisdom to aspiring athletes in his spare time. Zane talks changes in bodybuilding from 1970s, over-relying on steroids, and his protein demands at 81 years old. According to Zane, he is unsure why open bodybuilding has steered away from aesthetics in favor of mass. I don't know why bodybuilding has steered away from aesthetics. I mean, I just did what I could do. You know, I didn't do anything. I trained pretty much what everyone else was doing at Gold's Gym. I trained with Arnold. What happened to our physiques was basically along the lines of what our structures were and what we did in the workouts. Even though the workouts were the same, it was nothing different. When asked how athletes could bring back the competitive nature that was on display in the 1970s and 80s, Zane underlined that bodybuilders should take their time building physiques, underlining that massive amounts of steroids is not the answer. I'd say pay attention to what we were doing and how we did it. Take your time, do a good job. Don't over-rely on anything, forget about using massive amounts of steroids and other drugs. That's not going to do it for you, it's all about hard work. So, get used to working hard, and another thing is develop a backup plan. Don't just work out with weights. Very few people can do that and succeed. Have another job, have something else. Lastly, Zane touched on his protein intake, revealing he consumes approximately 150 grams per day. As for protein sources, Zane prefers to consume fish, chicken, and red meat. Not as much protein these days. Not as much. I might say probably, I weigh about 170, I probably get about 150 grams of protein a day. I have mainly eggs for breakfast and I have usually fish or chicken at other meals, and sometimes red meat too, said Zane. Zane has been open with fans and bodybuilders since his days of conquering titans on the Mr. Olympia stage. For anyone aiming to shred body fat, Zane advocated for a low-carb diet and high-protein consumption. In addition, Zane urged listeners to avoid junk food and alcohol as they can slow down metabolic activity. Given Zane's reputation and lasting legacy, his insights into the sport continue to serve fans and competitors alike. His pragmatic and simple approach is backed up by victories at the highest level in the sport.